fight, flight, freeze. Okay, these are the primal responses when we're under threat. So we will go and fight the dinosaur, run from the dinosaur, or play dead so the dinosaur runs past us and doesn't eat us. Okay. When we sense that we are in danger and there is a threat, our brain will release two chemicals into our body. Okay, these chemicals are adrenaline and cortisol. The impact of the brain releasing adrenaline on cortisol into our bodies is quite significant. So this is the higher energy that I'm talking about, that you'll be able to sense with anxiety. So everything becomes a little bit faster, okay? So you will notice the impact on your breathing. The breathing is much higher in the chest, even much quicker, maybe palpitations. Our heart with anxiety will start beating faster and faster and faster. Again, where the heart is pumping blood and oxygen to the major muscles, the arms to fight and the legs to run away. Okay, and what's very interesting is from a primal place, and when we actually do need to survive and get away from danger, that's great. However, when we are feeling anxiety over maybe something we've seen on social media or something in the workplace, there's a very extreme bodily reaction that goes on. Every day in the emergency rooms, in hospitals across the whole of the country, people are showing up there. They're ringing 999 actually first, and then they're being taken to the emergency rooms and they think they're having a heart attack. And hospitals are having to turn people away and say to them, it's anxiety, you're not having a heart attack. And the reality is the symptoms are really the same. So it's really known that it's the anxiety that is causing this, and that is being caused by something external that is making us feel scared, and something that is really fear-based for us. When we're really anxious, a really normal side effect is that we may feel a little bit dizzy. Some people may get tunnel vision, or feel that they have some form of vertigo, so really feeling quite fuzzy in the head. Very common is a dry mouth, because when we are under threat, our body stops making saliva because we stop digesting food, because the primary function of the body, again from that primal fight, flight, freeze, is to survive. So very often people will say, oh, I always have to have water with me, and when I'm feeling anxious I have to drink water or have mouth spray. And again, from a primal point of view, it's really normal, because our bodies and brains, we feel that we are under a primal threat, so our digestion system starts to slow down, so no saliva. When we're feeling super anxious, often our thoughts are racing. They're racing really, really fast. Positively, when we are in a position of danger, we are able to go, okay, we'll get out of here this way. This is how we stay safe. However, in a regular work environment, or when we've been triggered, it's really not useful. And when the anxiety is very high, very often, especially if we're going closer to panic and a panic attack, we stop thinking, because our brains are functioning really from the amygdala inside. It's a primal spot, so the thinking part of the brain, at the front of the brain, has stopped working. So it's really normal that we may literally don't even know our own name, don't even know where we are, can't think. All we know is that we need to get safe. So when our anxiety is high and the amygdala in the brain is saying, okay, we need to act now, it is the adrenal glands that release and spread the adrenaline and the cortisol from the brain, and they release it to the whole body. So you're also going to notice something going on in your stomach here. So when anxiety is high, that adrenaline is in the stomach. The normal digestive system stops working with anxiety. And very often people will say that they feel sick. Sometimes a common example in today's world is, I felt so nervous about going into work. They may feel sick on the Sunday night or in the morning. That is too much adrenaline and a cortisol in our tummy. So it's more than butterflies, that would be mild. It's when it's much stronger, okay? And also in our tummies, that increase will lead us to go to the bathroom a lot more because our bowels loosen. When we are under that much threat, the bowels loosen, so we're going to go to the toilet a lot more. It's worth mentioning here that a symptom that we see a lot associated with anxiety and long-term stress is irritable bowel syndrome. In my work as a therapist, this is something that I see frequently with people, and it's important again to connect the mind and body and notice what is going on in your environment that is triggering this reaction in your body. So you may also notice that your palms, when you're feeling anxious, we may shake, and that's often because we've got too much adrenaline and cortisol again. So we're shaking uncontrollably, and the outside of the body, so the furthest points, the hands may go cold, legs cold, feet cold, legs cold, and also we sweat. So what the sweating is doing is cooling the body down. One of the major side effects of having quite high anxiety is its impact on our sleep. And sleep is so important for good mental health and wellness, and without good sleep, very quickly we deteriorate. So when the body is pumping this adrenaline and cortisol, it's like 10 cans of Red Bull, you're not going to be able to sleep. So it's very important that we look at ways to improve sleep by being able to move the adrenaline and cortisol from the body, so you're able to come down into a safer space where we can focus on sleep to rest the body and the nervous system. When our anxiety is really high, this is very often where unhelpful coping mechanisms kick in. So these depend on the person. However, the most common ones are the use of alcohol. So often drinking too much alcohol, maybe instead of just having a drink a few nights a week, you might be drinking every night, or you might be drinking excessively, you might be drinking more on your own. And really, I get it, it's because that's very quickly going to take you somewhere else from being in this real state of high alert. However, with that alcohol, it is a depressant, and actually the next day you're going to feel more anxious, and the alcohol will also really impact your sleep. So alcohol is an unhealthy coping mechanism, as is caffeine. So very often people will drink more coffee, tea, fizzy drinks, and again it's a short-term hit, because with that sugar and caffeine in our system, it's going to impact our sleep later on. And also with the amount of caffeine is the best friend of anxiety. So caffeine is a bit like throwing fuel on it. It's like throwing some petrol on a fire. They love each other. Okay, so it's just being mindful of what am I putting into my body that's going to actually fuel the anxiety. Overwork is a big problem when people are anxious, so they may be constantly on emails, checking outside of work hours, taking on too many projects, really wanting to prove themselves, if they somehow think they've let themselves or others down. So it's worth keeping an eye on that. It's very, very normal. And also overspending is a coping mechanism used a lot. So again, this is the short-term hit. I'll just buy a Rolex watch, I've booked some flights, I've bought a new car, I've just spent £300 on online buying some new clothes. So it's just watching out for those patterns, as well as gambling, especially with the use of obviously online. It's so easy to gamble now. It's a real space, and even on gaming as well, where there's an addiction to gambling going on. So it's just noticing what's going on, and actually these are normal side effects of the anxiety. So anxiety has a really big impact on us socially. In the workplace, we may avoid people, avoid conversations, avoid the one-to-one with our bosses or even members of our team. Even if it's a video call, we may want to have the video off more than the video on. Again, we may be more introvert than extrovert, and that's fine. It's just knowing when your behaviour is changing. And socially as well, we may not even eat our lunch because we want to avoid certain people, because situations may feel just too overwhelming for us. We may avoid going out with our friends, and often it's these connections that keep us quite regulated and feeling well. And when we're feeling anxious, it just feels like it's too much for us. So I hope this has been useful to really bring to your awareness the connection between anxiety and our mind and what's happening in our body. Because your body and what you notice in your body is going to tell you what's going on. And I really need to highlight and throw a big light on the fact that all of this is happening, right? Often people think that something from above is striking them down, or the aliens are coming to get them, that this is happening and they've been possessed. Whereas the reality is there is a trigger. Something in your environment has made this happen. What is your fear? Notice the fear. Breathe. Ask yourself, what is my fear? And really focus in with your body and what's happening when that fear gets hotter and higher. And everything that we've discussed here are normal side effects, normal symptoms of anxiety. And very often, these are the normal reactions to often a very abnormal situation that will be going on.